When I was a little girl, my dream job was to be a city manager. And you can probably imagine my college days, they were wild. I mean, just picture it. Spring semester on campus, trees are blooming, but my days are filled with meetings, note-taking, and Robert's Rules of Order. I was the president of my sorority chapter, a leader at my student union job, and I had an internship with a public housing agency. I was the perfect worker bee. But there was a catch. I was quiet Christine back then. I kept my voice on mute so I wouldn't rock the boat. I mean, my resume looked great, but I was staying quiet in the process. Now, my first real job after grad school was at the water department. A far cry from the manager's office, I know, but my role was to help improve efficiency for our customers. But the problem was that I often had to tell older, mostly white, male engineers how to do their jobs better. And surprise, surprise, they didn't listen to quiet Christine. And so it became clear to me that I was not going to have the impact on the community that I desired. So I left. And I found a place where I could use my voice to make an impact. When we exclude the quietest and the most overlooked voices, we miss the opportunity to hear something that could contribute to our societal evolution. And so for the past 15 years, I've worked with two kinds of people: quiet activists, who we often assume are introverts, and loud activists, who we'll call extroverts. Loud activists, you amplify your voices with ease. You're the ones speaking up at town halls, leading protests through the streets. You're the ones we tend to think of when we think of activists. Fists in the air, megaphones, picket signs, and bandanas. And yes, we should listen to the amplified chants and the passionate voices of the masses, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't listen to those who are quiet. Quiet activists, on the other hand, they could be people with social anxiety. Maybe they opted out of the downtown march, or it could be people with a disability who don't have access to traditional activism. Or it could be someone like me who had to push through deeply rooted self-doubt to finally use her voice and come off of mute. For people like us, it might take something extreme to finally speak up. And that's if we don't check out altogether. And you know, a lot of us have been checking out of the civic process lately. In fact, in my city, 1 out of 3 eligible voters did not vote in the last election. We as a society tend to disengage when we feel overlooked and excluded. Those 1 in 3 voters essentially gave up on the civic process as quickly as they gave up on their New Year's resolution when they didn't think it was making a difference. And that's unacceptable. And I know we can do better. In fact, in my daily work, leading communities through meetings and surveys, I consistently encounter groundbreaking insights from people who've just been waiting to be heard. And in 2020, among the protests for Black Lives, my company was hired to help a North Carolina town address spending their public safety funding differently. And what that looked like was holding town hall meetings with the most unlikely audience, cops, facilitated by the most unassuming activists, quiet Christine. Now, throughout this process of looking at police tension and racial disparities, there was a lot of pain, hurt, frustration, distrust. And my job was to report the results. But instead of disengaging this time, I pushed through because this was a cause that mattered to me. And the city created the space to listen. And at the end of the day, we shifted nearly $1 million from policing to community engagement and mental health services. But wait, it was so successful that they have reinvested now $5 million into community-based reparations. Absolutely. This simple but strong connection between the community and their government really provided me a sense of hope that there's still time for humanity to redeem itself. And that's because transformation happens when quiet activists speak up and loud activists listen. Now, in my family, we were brought up to have pride in ourselves and have both curiosity and empathy for others. My Navy veteran dad and my nurse mom wouldn't have it any other way. We were raised to be service-oriented, starting with the people who live closest to us, our neighbors. I mean, think about this. Do you even know your neighbors' names? And we should value our neighbors' needs and inputs and opinions so that our quiet activists feel safe coming off of mute and our loud activists know who to make space for. And research has found that even animals place value on the quiet members of their packs. Picture this, a herd of brown spotted antelope roaming through the plains, just out of reach of hungry lions. The herds with the sensitive and watchful members have a much higher rate of survival than those that don't. Just like those antelope, we must listen to the quiet members of our society, those who pause, stop, and listen every once in a while to the stimuli around them rather than just constantly engaging. And without quiet activists, our world would be devoid of some of the greatest leaps forward. One such contribution was in 1955 when 16-year-old Claudette Colvin refused to give up her seat on a Montgomery, Alabama bus. Later on, that same year, Rosa Parks also achieved greatness, not in spite of, but because of her quiet activism. Both Colvin and Parks were plaintiffs in the case that ended segregation on buses. Major movements in history like these are composed of big events, but they're often composed of smaller events, which are often overlooked. Now I know that, being the shy employee at my entry-level job is not quite the same as jump-starting the civil rights movement, but it points to something so important. Using your voice and pushing your ideas into action creates a domino effect, calling in other activists. So, regardless of where you all choose to engage, here's how you can engage at any volume. First, you're going to want to take some classes and really learn about how your government works. Once you understand the process, you can be more confident navigating it. And it's probably been a while since your Civics 101 class. Next, you're going to find the idea that you're passionate about. What is the cause that you're most passionate about? And it could be anything from saving tree canopies to organizing a winter coat drive. Last but not least, you're going to find the place where you can use your voice to make an impact. It could be in your neighborhood, your house of worship, or your school. Start small at first and increase the volume over time. Quiet activists can lead loud change, and activists come in all kinds of packages. Just like 16-year-old Claudette, just like the brown spotted antelope, just like the person that dares to say hello to their neighbor, or just like Quiet Christine, who stood up for police reform and reparations. From this day and every day moving forward, I refuse to be quiet. Thank you.